Hello, 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 hello. Welcome to Wednesday's Wild Walk of Fame. It is Wednesday, isn't it? I am totally lost. But anyway, I hope you're really good today. It's a little bit rainy here in Bristol, but it's quite nice. A bit of respite from actual summer that we've had over the last couple of weeks. But yeah, hope you're good. Hope you're enjoying your summer holidays. Hope you're managing the juggle okay. And yeah, today we've got a whole new animal to celebrate and talk about with you on the Wild Walk of Fame. But one thing I don't have are my little red curtains today because unfortunately I haven't been organised enough to make a little card to go behind them. So my big reveal is not going to be a big reveal, it's going to be a small reveal. But anyway, let's crack on and talk about who's going to be in our Wild Walk of Fame this week. And it's one of my absolute favourites. I really, really love this animal. So this week we are talking about the sloth. I love sloths. This is my daughter's slothy friend who is very imaginatively called Slothy. So this week we're going to be talking all about the lovely slow sloth with some brilliant facts. And before we start as well, I'm going to put on my slothy necklace. So I've got this gorgeous little necklace, which I wonder if you can guess what it's made out of. So if I show you that quite close up. So it's actually made out of a nut, and they call this like nut ivory or something like that, because it does have that kind of finish of ivory, but obviously I'd never ever have any ivory in my hands ever. But this has a sort of similar finish, and it's all carved out of a nut, as you can see. And so I absolutely love that. And so I'm going to put on my slothy necklace so we can celebrate together with that. Right, and let's crack on. Let's talk about some facts, because that's what you're here for after all. So sloths are native to Central and South America, and they live across that whole region all the way through. They live in the rainforest, so up in the trees where it's quite dense and thick foliage gives them great camouflage. And there are two main types of sloth. There's the two-toed sloth and the three-toed sloth. And I'm sure you can guess that a two-toed sloth has two toes and a three-toed sloth has three toes. But other than that, I'm pretty sure they're kind of the same. And their bodies have this really special adaptation because they spend most of their life, like nearly all of their life, hanging upside down in the tree and in all sorts of different angles. And inside their bodies, they have this special adaptation where their major organs and their stomach are attached to the bottom of their ribs. So they're anchored there. So when they're upside down, nothing inside them moves. And it means that they can breathe easily because nothing is putting pressure on their lungs. You imagine when you go upside down, it can feel a little bit harder to breathe. And that's because there's more pressure on your lungs and your lungs are not allowed to fill with air. So sloths have this amazingly different sort of anatomy that means that never happens. So they don't get tired from hanging upside down because nothing inside their body is stopping them getting all of that oxygen into their lungs. So it's kind of incredible, really, isn't it, that they've adapted their environment that well. And they also have really long claws on their two toes or their three toes. This is obviously a three-toed sloth. And that helps them grip onto trees with very minimal effort as well. So the sloth is all about conserving energy and minimal effort to make any movement or anything like that. And so they are very much designed to do that with their internal setup as well as their external features. And you probably already know this, that sloths are super slow moving animals. Like they're definitely not going to be anywhere speedy. We've got one in our Amazon book here, look. So they're not going to be moving anywhere fast anytime soon. But they are really good climbers. So when they need to get moving, they can, and they can obviously climb very high in the trees. So they're known for their climbing. And one of the reasons why they move so slowly is that they've got a very slow heartbeat. So their hearts beat around 40 beats per minute. An average human heartbeat is 60 to 100 beats per minute. You might have a slightly lower heart rate if you're resting, but on average it's around 60 to 100 beats depending on what kind of activity that you're doing. So a sloth is around about 40 beats a minute. So that's pretty slow. It's not going to give them a whole lot to get up and go. And they also have a really low body temperature as well. So that contributes to them being quite slow moving animals. And on top of all of that, they also have a really slow metabolism. So that means that they don't process or digest their food very fast. So the flip side of that is that they don't need a lot of food, and because they're herbivores and they basically eat only plants, so they just don't really need to eat much. So they're not spending their time eating like lots of other animals will spend most of their time eating. Sloths actually don't. They're spending most of their time just resting or sleeping or just lying in a tree. So their slow metabolism also means that they just don't need to eat that much, which is kind of handy, I guess, because they don't have to expend much effort. And I don't know whether you know this or not, because you may have seen Planet Earth 2, where there was the wonderful footage of this happening. But sloths are excellent swimmers. They can swim really, really far. And they're very, very competent in the water. So yes, if you want to see that for yourself, if you Google Planet Earth 2 sloth swimming, it should come up with this absolutely beautiful footage of a sloth swimming from island to island, looking for some sloth friends to hang out with and possibly a partner. And yeah, it's incredible. I've never seen that before. And so yeah, it's really, really lovely to watch. So yeah, sloths are brilliant swimmers, which you just wouldn't assume with them being such slow moving animals. So as I've said, they sleep a lot. They can sleep for around 15 to 20 hours a day. And this morning, my good friend Dylan sent me an amazing fact. He sent me a little voice note, which was very sweet of him. His mum helped him to send me that voice note. And he told me that sloths can hold their breath for longer than a dolphin, which is kind of incredible when you think about it, because dolphins are built to be underwater, they're built to hold their breaths, they come up obviously to the surface to take in air, but they're used to being underwater for really long periods of time. But it turns out that a spotted dolphin can hold their breath for 10 minutes, and a sloth can hold their breath for a whopping 40 minutes. And I'd never heard this fact before, so thank you, Dylan, that was awesome. I'm really glad that you sent that to me so that I could share it with everyone today. So yeah, there you go, sloths can hold their breath, which maybe helps with the swimming thing as well. So all these things seem to be related in the way that the sloth is put together and has adapted to its environment and its needs and its habitat. And one other thing that you may or may not know about a sloth is that they usually have this sort of greenish tint to their fur. Now this helps give them camouflage in the rainforest, so it helps them give them this mottled appearance, which helps them blend in with all of the foliage that's around them. But it's actually caused by algae and fungi living in their fur, which is mad really when you think about it. So their fur has all this life living in it. And the algae gives the sloth extra nutrients, so it's like topping them up with what they need. So it's really beneficial to the sloth to have that algae in their fur. And the algae and the fungi also give food for moths and insects which live in their fur as well. So sloths kind of have this whole ecosystem going on in their fur, which is, yeah, bonkers really when you think about it. But it's all benefiting each other, and we call that a symbiotic relationship. So the algae and the fungi and the insects and the moths are all benefiting from living in the sloth's fur, and the sloth because the sloth is providing a habitat and food for them, but then in return the sloth is getting camouflage as well as nutrients from all the things that are living in its fur. There is a helicopter flying over. I don't know if you can hear that, it's very loud. So that is really incredible. That is why sloths have green fur. And a sloth can turn their head almost 270 degrees. I don't think poor Slothy will go around that far, but a sloth's head will turn 270 degrees. And so if you think about 360 degrees is all the way round. So 270 is just 100 degrees less than that. So that is pretty much 3/4 of the way round that a sloth can turn its head. I think we always assume that owls are the only animals or birds that can do that, but yeah, a good old sloth can do that too. And again, this means they're expending as little energy as possible to look all around them for anything that might cause them a threat, also to look for food or whatever it is that they need to look for. That's just a really handy way of expending as little energy as possible by just simply moving their head instead of having to move their entire body. And they have a very unique call that just sounds like a very high-pitched whistle. So yeah, if you want to hear that, again, Google what does a sloth sound like, and there'll be recordings online for you to hear that. But it's very loud, apparently. And finally, again, you might have heard this fact before, but I think this one's a very funny one. Is that sloths only come down once a week to use the toilet. I say toilet, basically, to come and have a poo on the ground. So rather than let it fall from the trees, they come down to the ground once a week, and that is the only time that they ever come down to the ground is to kind of do all of their toileting, and then they go back up into the trees. So they have everything else in the trees. They even have their babies in the trees. So yeah, literally nothing else brings them down to the ground apart from having to do a poo. So yeah, there you go. That's how a sloth poos. Bet you didn't know that this morning. So yeah, that is all of my slothy facts for today. I love the sloth. Sometimes people say sloth, but I like to say sloth. Yeah, I think they're really, really interesting. I think people write them off because they think they're really slow and boring and don't really do anything, but actually they're a hugely vital part of the ecosystem in the rainforests, and they are so well adapted to their environment. They've made all these changes, like evolution over the years, to just be absolutely perfect for what it is that they need to do, and the slowness really is all about survival. So yeah, not lazy at all. They're just, yeah, in fact, really incredible, and we should admire the sloth for how well they are suited to the environment that they live in. And as usual, following on from all the fact sharing, I'm going to share with you some books that I know that are all about sloths, in case you want to keep the sloth appreciation going at home. So of course we have the Awesome Animals of the Amazon book, which is one of mine, and sloth is on the first page of the book because I love it so much. So yeah, it says slothy in there if you would like some black and white animals, along with lots of friends from the rainforest. We've got snake and capybara and all those good things that live in the Amazon with the sloth. So we've got that one. And then my son managed to find this in the mess of his bedroom earlier and point this one out. So you might have had this one before. So this is the wonderful Eric Carle, who obviously writes The Hungry Caterpillar, and it's slowly said the sloth, and this is all about all the other animals asking the sloth lots of questions about why it's so slow. And then finally, I think it's the jaguar says, "Why are you so lazy?" And the sloth's a bit indignant because he's like, "I'm many things, but I'm not lazy." Which we know from all those amazing facts is that sloths are definitely not lazy. They're just incredibly well suited to their environment. So yes, if you haven't seen that one before, it's really lovely with the classic Eric Carle illustrations. And then the second one, so we were at the library last week and managed to find 2 sloth-themed books in the library. So this is The Sloth Who Came to Stay by Margaret Wilde and Vivian Toe. And this one is all about family who are super crazy busy all the time, really hectic, dashing about, full diaries, all that kind of jazz. Sounds very much like our family, like we never stop. And then a sloth comes to stay, and it teaches them all how to slow down and appreciate some of the quieter things in life rather than always being on the go and crazy. So that's a really lovely book. And then finally, we've got Sparky by Jenny Offill and Chris Applehands. And this is about a girl who has a pet sloth, and it's really about how sloths don't do anything at all. So she wants to do all these different things with it like a normal pet, but really the only thing that Slothy is good at, or Sparky is good at, should I say, is playing dead or being it in tag, I think. But yeah, these are really lovely, charming illustrations, and it takes you through lots of lovely games by games that children like to play, and all the different characteristics of a sloth. So yeah, so these are my 3 little book recommendations if you want to share some sloth love today with your children at home. But yeah, I hope that you've enjoyed this week's Wild Walk of Fame, all about the sloth. Like I said, one of my absolute favourites. I love sloths. I think they've just got such charming faces, and they're so full of character that you can't possibly not like them. The podcast is already up, so this week's episode of Wild Walk of Fame podcast is already up, ready for you to listen to in all the usual places. So look on Spotify, on Apple, on Amazon, and there's all the other episodes. I can't believe that is episode 6 already. That's kind of crazy. So yeah, lots and lots of other animals that you can discover, hopefully, and enjoy listening to with your kids and learn some brilliant animal facts. Thanks again to Dylan for sending me his great fact about sloths and being able to hold their breath. That one I will definitely remember for a very long time to come. And yeah, let me know if there's any animals that you'd love to see next week or in the future. Have you got any favourites? I'm always looking for recommendations. I'd absolutely love you to send them in if your children have got favourites that they'd love to hear about. Please do let me know, either comment on here or send me a DM or an email, or however it works for you. But yeah, tell me what your favourites are, because I'd love to just celebrate the ones that you love the most. So that's it for me for today. Have a brilliant rest of the day. Don't forget to listen to the podcast, and of course you can always rewatch this as many times as you want. So see you next week. Bye.